is the Tennessee River. On its western bank is Decatur County, a patchwork of sparsely populated farms, dense woods, and neighbors who look out for each other.
It's a rural county with a cute little small town, Parsons. Very close to the Tennessee River.
A lot of cattle farming and crop farming.
Hunting, fishing, boating.
People that like to live out in the country, they have some animals or some horses.
There's not a lot of industry in Decatur County.
I started to say it might be compared to Mayberry, but it's nothing like that. We do have crime just like every other town in America, but we are rural. Everybody pretty much knows everybody. Everybody knew Holly and her family.
20-year-old Holly Bobo came from a loving family. She lived with her mother, Karen, father, Dana, and her older brother, 25-year-old Clint, in a home her dad built with his own hands.
It was your typical little single story, 3 bedrooms, kitchen was in the middle kind of, and then a little small living room. And they had a carport there, which is a 2-car carport to the back of the house.
They're typical middle-class, hard-working country folks. Holly's dad, he had an excavating business, and her mother was a school teacher.
Holly and I were very close, and we were about 5 years apart.
Holly was raised like my little sister, and Clint was like my little brother. We were always growing up together.
We just lived in our own world. 2 kids in college. We had our church family, our family gatherings, went to the movies together, rode 4-wheelers together, rode horses.
The Bobo kids grew up with a sense of caring for their community. Clint is studying to become a social worker, and Holly is attending nursing school.
They're the best people on earth. That's what hurt so bad, that this happened to them. They didn't do anything that would have put them in harm's way of having this to happen. It just doesn't happen to people like them.
It was just a normal morning like anything else. Dana gets up first and gets ready.
Well, I usually go out and feed the dog.
Dana says Holly is already up, studying for a big test later that day.
I asked her if she needed any money, I think, for gas or whatever that day. She said, yeah, and I left her some money on the bar. I left out my regular time, 5:30 or something like that, and went on to work.
Karen wakes up a short time later.
So I went on about my business, getting ready. I'd packed her lunch like I always did. She was sitting at the kitchen table studying, and I kissed her goodbye and told her I loved her, just like every other morning. And I left.
Around 7:45, a neighbor was getting ready to go to work. He heard a scream from next door.
She said, stop, 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 leave me alone, stop, but she never called out his name.
It made such an impression on him. He told his mother that he heard somebody screaming over at the Bobo's house.
That neighbor calls Karen Bobo at work, worried, saying, "We heard a scream coming from your house."
That's just not a call you get every day, so I instantly knew something was wrong.
Holly's brother Clint, who is asleep in the house, doesn't hear the scream, but he wakes up to the family dog, Rascal, barking.
He just continued to bark, so I decided to get up, to see what he was barking at. As I was approaching that window, I heard people talking, voices. I could tell it was a male and a female voice. Now, I never was able to really tell what they were saying.
There's a side window next to the kitchen that faces the carport, which of course is an open carport.
Clint looks into the carport and he sees Holly and another person kneeled down in a catcher stance.
So I could see enough to tell that it was Holly and a man in camouflage who I identified as Drew, who is her boyfriend.
At first he thought it was Holly and her boyfriend and they were arguing. He didn't want to get involved in it, so he stepped away and let them do whatever they were doing. At that point, he sent his mom a text and asked, does Holly not have school today?
And I said, well, her and Drew are out here in the garage. I expected Drew to be dressed in camouflage because Drew and I had talked the night before, and he told me he was going turkey hunting that morning.
But there were some things that Clint didn't know that his mother knew. Drew was at least 30 minutes drive away.
Drew was hunting on my mom's property in southern Decatur County.
Right away, her instincts told her that's terribly wrong.
I would say like 20 seconds later, well, I received a phone call from her. She says, call all the neighbors. Oh my God, Clint, that's not Drew.
I said, that's not Drew, get a gun and shoot him.
Miss Karen is saying, shoot him, get your gun and shoot him. He's like, what are you talking about? You want me to shoot Drew? He just woke up. He wasn't comprehending everything that was going on.
And I said, so you want me to shoot Drew? And I think that's when she must have hung the phone up.
I just hung up, and I collapsed to the floor.
He said he went and got his gun, and he looked out the back window of the kitchen, and he saw that Holly was walking with a man in camouflage.
At that point is when I could see them. They were walking towards the woods, and there's a trail that Holly and I are both very familiar with. That trail leads you to a logging road. And looked like they were walking right toward that trail. She was walking on her own. She didn't appear to be hurt, and still thinking it's Drew. And I'm watching them as they're walking toward this trail.
As Clint Bobo is watching his sister Holly and this man in camouflage disappear into the woods, back at work, Karen Bobo knows something is really wrong.
And everybody trying to say, it's okay, Karen, this is all just a mistake. But see, they didn't know what I knew that morning. It couldn't be Drew, and that the neighbor had heard a scream. And so my friend, she grabbed my hand, pulled me up, and we headed out of the building. She hands me her phone.
911, what's your emergency?
Somebody has my daughter. They have kidnapped her. And somebody in full camouflage got Holly. Please get everybody in the community out there.
They're on their way, sweetie. I got everybody on their way right now already.
Oh my God.
In the hours and days that follow, thousands of people will come to this small town, all asking the same question: where is Holly Bobo?